Muted.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes,
good morning. My name is Scott. All right. Thank you, Megan. Good morning. My name is Scott Rogalski. Thank you very much, Megan and GO-BIZ, for putting on this webinar for how to start a business. And I appreciate the intro, and I'm ready to share all the information with you guys. So we'll go ahead and start the presentation. So, information about myself. I was in banking for 11 years, and worked at a big bank, worked at a little bank, started doing some commercial lending, underwriting, and decided that banks make it too hard for business owners to get financing and make it too hard for them to start, and wanted to jump over to a space where we could better assist them and better help them. And the way to do that was for me to work with and start cultivating a relationship with a small business development center, which we do. We're funded through GO-BIZ, and we do all their technical assistance with small business owners. So if you're looking to start a business or access capital, we're here to help you with that. So on the next slide, it talks about the SBDC and who we are. So I'm the state liaison. So we have 43 centers throughout the state, local to where GO-BIZ is located in Sacramento, California. We have one that's called Capital Region SBDC, and they cover from the they cover from Sacramento region and then the 8 counties within the Sacramento region. And what we do is we're a free service to all small to medium-sized business owners. So whether you want to start, you want to grow, you want to buy a business, we're here to help every entrepreneurs and business owners alike. And we provide all this service to you for free, thanks to the funding of GO-BIZ and Small Business Administration. So on the next slide, it talks about our priorities, and our priorities we get goals from SBA to see how best we can help our clients and entrepreneurs. So we focus on business starts, which is what this webinar is about, and then we also focus on capital infusion. And capital infusion is helping business owners kind of put together the right package to get the money that they may need to start or grow that business. So the next slide for the results, you'll see this is just for Sacramento regional area, and you can see over the last 2 years, this is a 2-year stats, we've helped business owners fund capital about $22 million. For the state of California last year, we did about $800 million, and we helped about 1,500 business owners start their business. And you can see on this results page that most of the loans that we help out businesses are the smaller loans. They're lower than $500,000, but we also do some bigger loans. So the next slide, you'll see the success story that we've had. So we have success stories all across California since we cover the whole state. And this is a company that I helped up here in Sacramento, California. And they wanted to create a waffle experience. That's the name of their company. So they make these really cool, you can see up in the upper right-hand corner, they make waffle sandwiches. So they hand make these waffles every morning. They put like either fried chicken, pork belly, hamburger, all this great stuff in there. They had an awesome concept, great chef. They just didn't know how best to go to market because a lot of lenders thought they were just going to be like the Waffle Barn. So they were in trouble pitching it and selling it. They met with the SBDC. They met with me as one of the consultants, and I helped them put their financials together. Even though they're restaurants, they have a great story, great product. Most restaurants struggle to get financing, but they actually pulled a profit their first year. I put together some great projections for them, and then we helped them open their second location and get them financing. So great success story. So to get into the slides, there's quite a few slides here, but there is a lot of content. Megan, or my information is on the second slide, so you guys are welcome to call or email me with any questions. But to jump into starting your new business, really important to figure out what type of business you want to jump into, where your interest lies, and what you're really passionate about, why you do what you want to do. Whether you're working for a company, you think it's time to leave and start your own company, is that what you really have passion about, or do you really have passion about helping people? Do you want to sell a product? Do you want to sell a service? So looking down to the next slide, evaluating your idea. It's really important. There's a lot of people out there that have great ideas and they're not sure how to implement it. They may have an idea that may not be valid, or they haven't actually proved it in the industry. So if you are working for a company and you want to leave and jump into that same space but do it better than your company does it, then do you really understand the industry? And that's really important. Like the waffle guys, they really understand the restaurant industry, which is great because they used to work from them. And then they also understand like growth and business development. But it's are you going to be able to commit 5 years or more to this? Starting a business is almost like a marriage. You're stepping into something that you're going to commit your full life to, your time, your effort, your energy, and everything. And is it really a good fit for you, owning a business and jumping into a business? And is your idea really valid? So the next slide is that theme. Is the idea feasible? Does it make sense? Have you talked to people in the area? If you want to open a coffee shop and there's 50 coffee shops within a 5-mile radius, that's the best way to put it. Do you take a survey? Obviously your friends and families are going to be a little biased to you, but did you ask, did you go survey your competition? I have people in Northern California that this lady wanted to open a feed store in Ione, in like Jackson, California. And there was a couple feed stores, local cities, but she went and found out there was 900 little farms in her area. And she also found out that there was other feed stores, and she sat in the parking lot and counted how many people come at each hour, and then went in and talked to the owner and see what kind of stuff they buy. So when you're looking to start a business and you want a physical location, it's really important to know, who your customers are. What's the demand? Hopefully you don't have more supply than demand. And what needs are you actually meeting in the marketplace that are unmet currently? So there's next slide is resources to test the idea. So obviously friends and family, but really like kind of go to market, talk to the chambers of commerce, go meet the stakeholders in your area, maybe do some research at your local libraries or colleges. Trade associations are very popular. So if you're looking to open a restaurant, go talk to I think it's the California Restaurants Association. If you want to get into, any type, like there's a heating and cooling trade association throughout the state of California if you want to get into that industry. But really important to do the research on your idea. And then the next slide is identifying your customers. So if you're selling a product, who buys those products and why do they buy them? What's their habits in buying them? How often do they buy them? How much are they going to pay for them? What makes yours different that they're going to either pay more or buy more frequently? So really important to know where your customers live, work, and shop, and how much they and then really understand your demographics. So how old is the person that's going to buy your product? What's the average? What's the normal gender? Is it male or female? And then kind of how much money they have to be making depending on the price. So so going to the next slide, the target market and size. So if you're Facebook, right? The target market and size is pretty much everyone that has a mobile or a desktop device. So that would be really large. But if you're selling little trinkets and very few people want to buy that for a very specific need, then your target market size would be smaller. So really important to know what percentage of the market you anticipate to capture, and then the growth of your customer base. And what you'll see on here on a lot of slides is to do a lot of surveying of your competition, because your competition, they know best. They've been in the industry, they've been in the business, they understand what they're doing. So the next slide is really just some of these other slides, next 3 slides or so, is just information that you would need as a business owner startup. So if you want to start a business, you need a business license. You have to go to your city hall or your recorder's office in the city or county that you work in. If you're selling liquor, you need a liquor license. If you're doing construction, you probably need a bonding license. So kind of figuring out what industry, and at the SBDC, your local nearest SBDC, we can help you with that. Like I mentioned, we have 43 throughout the state, and we can get those numbers for you or get those locations. Next slide is your insurance. Depending on what kind of insurance you need. If you're, like I said, if you're doing construction, obviously you need workers' comp. Everybody needs general liability business insurance if they're jumping into a business. The minimal, you need general liability, possibly business loss, and then if you're going to create employees, then definitely some health plans. The next slide, everybody, you always hear the common term, location, 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 and this is very important. So if you're selling a product, do you need to be on the storefront, street, downtown location, or can you sell it from home? Are you just selling stuff through Amazon and that's all you need? You don't need a storefront. Should you rent a place? Should you lease? Or should you possibly buy a place? Very important things to think about. And at the SBDC, we can help you with that. Obviously, it's cheaper to work from home, but sometimes working with your CPA, it depends on how much you can write off working from home. And it's sometimes obviously very expensive to buy, cheaper to rent or lease than to buy, but sometimes the market works kind of like it is now in Northern California. I'm not so sure about Southern California, but where it might be cheaper to buy than to rent because the mortgage is lower. All right, so so those slides that kind of went through is kind of like the basics of starting and getting into it. Some things you got to think about. So the next slide is choosing your legal entity. Very important if you want to jump into a business. Do you want to be a sole prop? Do you want to be a partnership? Do you want to be an LLC? And it really depends on what your end goal is. And for those of you that don't know what BHAG is, B-H-A-G, it's big, hairy, audacious goal. So that's what's your end plan? I want to start Facebook. I want to start this thing online in colleges, and we're going to call it Facebook, and it's going to blow up, and everybody's going to have it on their mobile device. Or do you want to create a new restaurant concept? You want to franchise it, which is very popular. Those waffle guys I explained earlier, they are franchising throughout Northern California right now. So what do you want to do with it? Because it depends on what your exit strategy is with your business. It depends on what entity structure you should choose. So we have experts that can help you with that. The next slide is telling your story. So the business plan is very, very important when you're starting a business. If you're looking for funding, it's even more and more important. Most business plans are working plans, but you'll see on this slide it talks about why you would need a business plan outside your company. And that's to obtain money and capital and looking to possibly bring on some new customers. But telling your story is very, very important. Next few slides kind of go through what the business plan is. So the slide 18 for developing a business plan. How long should it be? So a lot of people say, I was told that my business plan needs to be 25 pages, needs to be 30 pages, and I would tell you all those people that told you that are wrong. So it depends on what you're selling and how you're selling it and the intricacies of it. So if you said, hey, Scott, I'm going to go sell Facebook, and this is what the product is, I would say that you would need a pitch deck, not necessarily a full 30-page business plan, because it's too technical to explain it all through that, and nobody's going to really understand it. So the developing a business plan is using it like a roadmap, kind of like a blueprint, and it's always a working plan. You don't have to say, Scott, hey, I need to do a business plan, and when I get it done, I am done. I'm never going to change it. Well, that's not feasible. It's not realistic. As you know, there's trends that go up. Some people love eating pizza, and then some people love eating waffles. You just don't know. It goes up and down. Some people love Facebook. People used to love, let's see, what's the newest competition? Some people love Facebook, and then now for some reason, the millennials love Twitter and Snapchat. So, all business plans are working. Obviously, you need a financial strategy and you need a marketing strategy. So the next slide kind of goes into a quick template of what a business plan would look like. Each bullet point would essentially be 1 to 2 pages on here, which you would say, well, Scott, that would mean that my business plan would be 20 pages, and you're right. So if you did a full traditional business plan, this is what it would look like. This is how long it would be. But now lenders and bankers that are trying to fund you, they really just need to know a few key things. And one of them, it's on here, you'll see you need the executive summary. You need the request for funding if you're looking for money. Do you understand your industry, your marketing strategy, your management's very important, and then your financial. So there's really just key things you need. But if you wanted to go through the full process, this is what a full business plan would look like. Number 20 in the next slide is called pitch deck, and this is if you're going to market with like a tech product, an ag product, maybe a medical product, something that's maybe has a big scope of market and something that you can explain in a PowerPoint deck rather than kind of like what we're going through here, rather than a printed document for a business plan. So if you were to take each bullet point here, that would be essentially each one of the bullet points would be a separate slide in a pitch deck. So you're essentially pitching your company to a room full of investors or lenders or mom and dad or your friends that you want them to buy into your product. You're kind of pitching it to them. So that's a pitch deck. So the next few slides, slide 21, is what I did was I took a bunch of 20-page business plans and templates and websites, and I kind of condensed it into 3 templates here. The most important stuff that you would need in a business plan. So, where have you been? Kind of like I mentioned, your executive summary. So, like letters E, F, and G on here are pretty much the most important. Like, who are you? What do you sell? Who do you sell it to? Why do you sell it? Why are they going to buy it? Really want to, grab their attention and sell the story. The next slide is, what you have to offer. Who are you, and why are you the best person to sell that? Like I mentioned last slide, but your company description. It's lenders and bankers and business organizations. They really want to know your team. Who's on your team, and why is your team the best people? Why was Mark Zuckerberg the best person to launch Facebook? Why was why are you the best person for that? And if it's not you, because you have great business knowledge, but your friend, like the waffle guys, one guy was great business knowledge, one guy cooked the waffles. So who's on his team? He has a great executive chef, and then he has a great business guy. They join forces, they have a great team, and they can take it to market. So you need to figure out if you're selling a product or a service, very important. Service industries are like CPAs, insurance firms, attorney firms, and then how you're going to get there. Do you understand your market analysis? You understand your competitors and your customers. So next slide, 23. This is a way for you to once you're in business, kind of looking at how you can grow your bottom line. So these are the 6 main things on how to grow your bottom line. Your bottom line means your net profit. Hopefully you're starting a business, you want to make money, so hopefully you have a net profit rather than a net loss. But obviously when you're first starting out, sometimes losses happen. But really important to look at your how much your expenses are going to be, and reducing those expenses. The main number 2 on here, the main 5 areas of high expenses is labor, rent, inventory, equipment, and marketing. Obviously your staffing is important. Your inventory, if your inventories would be like all your kind of like your cost of goods for your like your restaurant, all your food costs. So it's great to have a great team of core advisors, and those are obviously your CPA, attorney, banker. And we put SBDC, Small Business Development Consultant, Small Business Development Center consultants that can assist you, kind of hold your hand, kind of be your guidance, your mentor. So next slide is starting to collect your information now. So if you're looking to be in business, when do you want to start your business? You're going to start it today? You're going to start it tomorrow? Are you going to actually retire first and then start it? Are you going to graduate college first and then start it? it's great to have a roadmap and a plan and an outline with, a guide for you. And then what type of investment is needed with that? Do you need to buy materials? Do you need to buy equipment? And then also number 4, it's very important to complete your personal financial statements and get going to try to figure all that out. How much you're going to need and whatnot. So next slide. If you do need money and you want to start your business, there is money out there for pretty much any request. But this is where most people go for financing. They usually go to their credit cards or their 401ks. If you don't have those, then sometimes you go to friends, families. If you think you're going to launch the next Facebook, it might be best to get some venture capitalists or angel investors involved. But there's all types of financing in that. So the next slide, I truly feel, and the SBDC does as well, that there's money out there for everyone. And with that, what you can do is you could, there's different lenders out there for different industries and different ideas and different service or products. Not every lender, not every bank that you bank at for a business is going to finance your business just because you have your banking account there. Really important when you're looking for banks or business banks to find out what they're looking for with what you're looking for in particular for your financing. When you try to go look for a business bank that you want to bank at, find out, do they finance gas stations? Do they finance your industry? Do they finance restaurants? Do they like startups? Do they not like startups? It's hard to find money out there for startups, but it does exist. So on this slide, there's a lot of bullet points on this slide. But to kind of go down it really quick, there's community advantage loans. Those are SBA guaranteed loans. And what they do is they do startup financing. There's community revolving loan funds. So different organizations will get together in different counties. They'll put money in a pot. They'll lend it to you, and you'll pay it back. That way they can just keep lending more money. So there's transactional lenders where a UCC is a universal commercial code, where they'll put a blanket lien on all your assets and they'll lend you money. Don't necessarily need to put your house up. So there's SBA loans, Small Business Administration loans. They guarantee the loans. There's also state guaranteed loans. There's micro loans out there. Micro is usually between $1,000 and $50,000 for small business loans. So depending on your respective area where you are in California, there's some great resources for that. You've got to be really careful about the online lending sites like FinTech. FinTech is financial technology. When banks weren't lending in 2008 to 2012, there's a lot of great companies that went online. Some really smart hedge fund guys got together and created On Deck and Cabbage. But you got to be careful because they have really crazy high rates. Some business owners, if you can't get a loan, they'll tap into their 401k. There's a way to do it where you don't have to pay any taxes or any fees to take it out early. So we can talk about that. If you're doing business-to-business financing, so if you make wine and you sell to Gallo or you sell to other large wine distributors, you could do what's called accounts receivable financing. So if it takes a while for your business owners to pay you, you can get an advance on that. You can do hard money, also known as private money financing, and that is using collateral like cars, trucks, houses, land. Some business owners go to credit card financing, so you can get up to like $150,000 of credit card financing straight out of the gate from some lenders. There's crowdfunding, and that's crowdfunding would essentially bring all these different types of platforms together, plus your friends, families, your community. And then there's venture capitalists and angels, and what they do is they take equity out of your business. And then if there's any veterans on the phone call today, there's a veteran program for startups. They'll do loans between $25,000 and $250,000. So there's some great. So that next slide, slide 27, is the introductory to the guy, Mike McGrain from Better Launch, that does all the veteran financing throughout the state of California for startups, up to $250,000. So I wanted to throw that in there. So slide 28. So the next few slides kind of go into becoming loan ready, what it takes to get a loan if you're looking for a loan to start your business. And you'll see on a lot of here is that It's a lot about the financial package. It's a lot about your credit, your capacity, and how you approach that. You also see that you'll need your kind of like a business plan, your projections, kind of like your strategic plan to get this financing. The next slide is a very common term, 5 C's of your credit story. So this is what all lenders and banks and credit unions that do business financing will talk about. They'll talk about the 5 C's of your credit story. So this kind of goes into, this is kind of like banker speak. This is what they talk about. This is what they talk about when you're not there, and they're like trying to underwrite your loan and figure out if they want to give you money, but they really want to know about your character, and maybe like if you have any collateral. So the next slide is just an intro to the financial plan and strategy. So this is kind of going into like startup costs. So slide 31, you'll see. Actually, you know what? What we'll do is we have a couple minutes. Before we go to startup costs, slide 31, do we have any questions on the first part of the presentation that you guys want to ask?
If you have any questions, please use either the question box or the chat box. I see one question. It looks like it's from Gil Gonzalez. Does SBDC help companies with the paperwork to actually form LLCs, nonprofits, etc.?
Yes, we do, Gil. We help you choose the right entity that's best for you and best for your situation, and then we also help you. We don't actually buy the corporation for you or the EIN, your tax ID number. We don't give you the money to buy that unless you want to get a loan to do that. But what we can do is help you fill out the paperwork and make sure, handhold you, make sure that you get it set up correctly.
Okay, and then we have one more. How do I utilize the SBDC? Is it a walk-in type thing, or do I need an appointment, and is it really free?
So yeah, it's everything is free. The best way to do it is be best to go to. You can walk in. Most SBDCs in the state of California have a storefront. You can walk in and tell them your need, and then also you could, depending on where you're from, most of the SBDCs all have a website. You can go to californiasbdc.org and type in your zip code and your address where you are, and you can find the closest one to you. Usually they have a website where they have, you can request services. So you fill out their quick intake form, and then they'll find the best consultant for you to meet. Just tell them what you're looking for. Hey, I want to start a business. I need help with my filing of my C Corp, or hey, I want to start a business. I need to access capital. So yeah, best way.
Okay. I don't see any other questions right now. We will be doing Q&A at the end of Scott's presentation, so if you have any other questions, we can definitely do it at that point. So I will hand it back over to Scott to finish.
All right, thanks, Megan. So so slide 31 is a startup cost. So for those of you that are looking to access capital for your business, it's really important on here to itemize all your needs, whether it be equipment or inventory or marketing, advertising, but whatever it costs you. So if you need, hey Scott, I need $50,000 to start my business. Okay, well, what are you going to use it for? Well, I need $10,000 for equipment, $20,000 for marketing. I need to buy some inventory. So you have to know exactly what you're spending the money on. So the next slide is helping you to find the best and secure the best financing for you. Because like I said earlier, not all banks are the best bank. Your bank might not be the best bank. You know, a hard money lender might not be best for you. But you know, how long does it take? So it's really up to you. Most lenders, if you go to a traditional bank or lender rather than going online to some of the unregulated lenders, like I mentioned, it's best for you to it takes anywhere from 30 days from the time that you actually ask for the money and submit some documentation. It takes about 30 days to 90 days to actually get the money in your hand. So it really depends on your commitment and how willing you are to start the process. So the next slide, accessing capital approach. this is how I work with business owners and how the SBDC in most part of the state of California works with businesses that are looking to access capital. So you heard me mention earlier, I don't agree with the 30-page business plan. I really like, like maybe a 3 to 5-page business plan or a pitch deck. I help you really understand why this product, why now, and then knowing what investors or lenders will actually lend to you is very important. So the next slide, number 3, is financial loan package. We help you put that together and educate you on that and the time frame. And then maybe a bank's not best for you. Maybe alternative forms of capital are best for you. So we help you with the other non-traditional bank financing platforms and help you with those underwriting guidelines. So the next slide is, so there's some myths out there that there's no capital for startups. And SBA, Small Business Administration, says that if you haven't been in business 2 years, you're still a startup. Some banks won't lend to you, lenders won't lend to you unless you are 2 years in business. Some will actually lend to you from day one. You can file your corporation today and get funding tomorrow. Some will want you to be in business 6 months, 12 months, and then 2 years. So really important for you to figure that out from the lender that you're talking to so you don't waste anybody's time. They don't waste your time, you don't waste their time. And then some people say that SBA, Small Business Administration, a lot of people are nervous about it. They're scared. They think they're like the devil in lending, but they actually don't lend any money and they don't decline the loans. They only guarantee the loans. So if for some reason you go to a bank and your credit score is not that great, but they still want to do your loan because you make a bunch of money, then what they can do is SBA will go on the back of it and be like an insurance guarantee to the bank and say, hey, if this customer doesn't pay it back, we'll guarantee that you get your funds, Mr. Banker. So that's what the SBA does. And so the next slide, so if you don't qualify for bank financing, there's other great sources out there to get financing. You can, if you have really good credit, you can get credit card financing between 8 and 10%, which is not too bad for a startup. If you do business to business, meaning you sell to the government, you sell to the county, you sell to Home Depot, or wherever you sell to for business to business, you can get invoice financing. It is quicker financing. It does cost a little bit more, but you can get it as a startup. And then also collateral-based financing. So you can do commercial real estate, residential real estate. If you have equity in your home, you can take it out to start a business if you want. Some bankers will say that's not what you're supposed to do, but a lot of people do it. You can do cars and equipment. You can also exhaust your 401k, like I mentioned earlier, where it doesn't cost you anything for premature taxes and premature distribution. There's a way to do that. That's legal. The next slide, breaking down FinTech. So I mentioned FinTech a little earlier. That's financial technology. It's online lending. There's lots of people that take advantage of you on that. There's On Deck. So On Deck and Cabbage and Merchant Card Advances, they're just not very transparent with you for getting financing. They'll tell you that it's 5% up front, but it's really 100%. So you have to be very careful. The SBDC works with a lot of clients, unfortunately, that take this type of financing and then they're out of business 3 to 6 to 9 months later. Hopefully we catch it before then so we can help you restructure your costs, help you refinance that. The reason why business owners take this financing is because it's very enticing, because if you do need the money today, they will give it to you today if you're approved. And business owners like that because they think they need capital super fast when maybe they just need to bring in more sales. So you have to be very careful with this FinTech stuff. I found some FinTech that I believe that do right by the client. Rapid Advance is similar to Cabbage, but they only charge about 1% a month. Businessbacker.com, they do story lending. So what that means is you tell them your story, and then they kind of lend based on that. Capital Funding, they're out of Costa Mesa in California. They do the 401k retirement I was telling you about, and then Excel Funding Solutions, they do the credit card financing. But some great companies for good startup. So the next slide, debt financing versus equity financing. So the reason why I have this slide up here is a lot of younger entrepreneurs and business owners that want to start their business. They always think that, man, I just want to give up equity in my company because it's easier to do that than it is to get financing, and sometimes that is the case, but not always the best case. So when you're giving up equity financing, it's very important I recommend to give up nothing more than 20% if you can at all possible do that, because 20% or more, they have to be on the loan. So I was working with somebody at UC Davis Northern California. He's a college student. He created this robot that teaches kids how to do coding before they go to college. Really cool, but he gave a professor 22% ownership of his company. When he tried to get capital, I had to put the professor under as much scrutiny as the college student to get financing, and it was just really challenging. So kind of be careful how much you give up. We don't have time to go back and forth on this slide, but this equity versus debt financing kind of tells you how fast it takes, what your credit score have to be. Do you need a business plan? What does investors look at? The next slide is, in addition to debt and equity, there's also leveraging invoices. So that's factoring. So it tells you on the left side, the important requirements through leveraging your invoices on those categories. And on the right side, it tells you about the retirement funds, what I was telling you about how to prematurely jump into your 401k to use it to fund your business. So you can kind of look at that back and forth if you wanted to do some more alternative financing. So the next slide is just a quick snapshot of side-by-side what banks look at for financing and what alternative lenders look at for financing. So banks really always talk about underwriting. They want collateral. They want your home, your cars, your children. They want everything. Banks do. So alternative financing, they don't really look at like all your collateral. They just want to know like the risk. They don't know how long you've been in business. Some alternative lenders will go as low as 600 credit score. Some like invoice financing doesn't even care about your credit score. They just care about your business, who you do business with, their credit score. So the next slide is a great way for you to sit at home. The next few slides, great way for you to sit at home, hold yourself accountable, start asking yourself these questions before you actually either jump into business or go to a lender and start talking about financing. So really, how fast do you need the money? How much are you looking for? So you can't say, hey, Scott, I just want to get whatever you can approve me for. And that's unfortunately not the best way to approach it because nobody's going to take you seriously. But hey, Scott, I need $150,000. This is what I'm going to use it for. Really important, number 3, how you're going to pay it back. Most lenders won't give you money unless you can prove that you can pay it back without counting your future projections. And then what type of collateral do you have? And number 7 is really important, is what is your credit story? So the next slide is a education of score versus story. So I'm talking about your credit score versus the story of your credit report. So hey, Scott, I have a 650. This is what I have on my credit. I had a bankruptcy 4 years ago. This is why I had a bankruptcy. I lost my job, but I've been able to buy a house from then, and my credit score, has grown up a little bit, and I'm looking to start this business. Can you help me? So there's a couple of things that lenders are always going to find out about you. They're going to find out if you ever committed a felony. They're also going to find out about your credit score and what's on your report. So you can't lie about any of this stuff. So if you do have blemishes, and it's okay, a lot of people do. That we had the recession in 2008. So if you have any charge-offs, bankruptcies, foreclosures, short sales, really important for you to go to the lender, and you can do this at home, like I said, and put together your letter of explanation. Like say, hey, Scott, I have a credit score of 700, but I had bankruptcy 2 years ago. This is why, but I've been able to repair my credit, and this is how. So just really want to know, like, do you know what's on your credit? Because it's going to come up later. So the next slide is what I call the 3 C's of bank approval. So earlier we talked about the 5 C's of credit. That's what bankers kind of look at for banker speak. But I think these are the 3 C's, the best C's, best guidelines and criteria to look at when you're trying to figure out if you can actually get a lender to approve your loan requests. So cash flow, that just means can you pay back the loan? And if you're starting a business and you don't have a job, it's almost impossible to get a loan because you need cash flow. And what that means is if you are working in a business right now, you're working for an employer, don't quit your job before you start your business because the lender needs to see that you have income to pay your bills currently and then the new bills you're going to have for your new loan. And how can you do that? And if you don't have other income to pay for it, they're not going to take your projections because those are made up numbers. They're going to want to see if you're going to be able to pay it back. So do you need to bring in a mom, a dad to have cash flow, a spouse, a business partner that has outside cash flow? That's what that means. And then really important to know your credit story. Talked about that. And also really important to know your collateral. So I got some templates down here. So next slide is what's the money for? So you heard me talk about this a lot because it's very important. So this is a quick snapshot. This person wants to start a Subway franchise, and So these templates I have, and I could distribute them through Megan. But what this template tells you is it just breaks it down, and you have to be able to prove it. So if you're looking to buy a truck for a delivery van for $25,000, we're going to need to see the invoice or the purchase agreement or the CarMax statement or something to show that that's how much it costs. So lenders need to know this, and it needs to be broken down pretty detailed like this. You can't just say, hey, I need $305,000 to go start a Subway franchise. You need to know what it's going for. So the next slide is, this is a quick down and dirty template of how to tell if you can afford a business loan. So this is something else you can do at home by yourself, and I have a template for you as well. But so this is, lenders look at all your debts. They don't look at all your expenses, so they don't look at how much you spend on food and utilities and garbage, stuff like that. They just look at your major big debts, usually anything over $100 or more monthly payment. That's going to show up on your credit report. The only thing that doesn't show up in your credit report is your rent, but they do count that because they know that you have to live. So they add up all that, and then you take your new business loan. So this person makes $3,500 in income, and in this example, and they have $3,300 expenses, which if you take $3,500 divided by $3,300, it's I didn't do the math real quick, but it's probably like a 1.15, somewhere around there ratio. So most banks want you to be at 1.25. So if you make $1,250 and you have $1,000 in expenses, you just divide it, and that's 1.25 ratio to how much debt you have to income. But if you're negative, if your all business debt with loan is higher than all your income, then it's almost impossible for you to get a loan. So you can kind of do this, or you can bring in more income like a spouse or a business partner. So the next slide is the financial loan package. So this is something that banks want you to put together, and they can't legally, technically do it for you. It's a conflict of interest, but the SBDC can do it all for you. This is one of the things that we highly specialize in, is putting together your taxes, your balance sheets, your personal financial statements, your business application. So you'll see here, I know this webinar is for starting a business, so it's on the right-hand side, starting a new business. So if you're currently working, hopefully you are, you need your personal taxes, your most recent pay stub, you need your financial statements. Very important to have your corporate docs, like your filings. You're gonna need some projections, pitch deck, or kind of like a brief business strategic plan. There's a bunch of other stuff. When you go to a lender, and you say, hey, I want to get a loan, and they briefly approve you, they'll say, hey, Scott, you're approved for this loan, but we need all these financials and these documents. So that's a sheet that you can take to an SBDC, and we can help you work through that, because that's what takes the most time. So the next slide is a personal financial statement. This is also another super condensed version. You can go to sba.gov and type in Form 413, and this is a personal financial statement. All lenders need to know this about you. They need to know what you're worth. So like I said, I have a template I created that kind of fills it out similar to this form here. So this person is worth, at the bottom right corner, they're worth $56,000. They have some equity in their home, which you can see on home value. It's worth $250. They owe $200. So some banks will tap into that. They have some 401ks that they can use if they wanted to. But you just go straight across, add them all up, and then this shows your net worth, which is really important for lenders to know. So the next slide is the financial plan and strategy. So what do you need to know? Like how do you put together your projections? What's your break-even analysis? That just means like, hey, I'm going to sell $500,000 worth of widgets. All my costs are $500,000. Therefore, I make zero. So that's break-even. It's just you didn't make anything, you didn't lose anything. But really important to know, the first bullet point is really important, and important assumptions. So you're assuming that you're going to make this money. You're going to assume you're going to get so many customers. You're assuming this, and everybody knows what happens when you assume. But it's really important to actually know. The way you do that is all the other slides we talked about, like, you survey your competitors. You actually know how much they sell. You know how many clients they get, stuff like that. So the next slide continues the financial plan and strategy, looking at the balance sheet. So the balance sheet is your net worth. So this is so if you're already in business, you're going to have assets and liabilities. So your assets would be anything tangible. Could be accounts receivables from your clients. Could be cash you have in the bank, could be your 401k that you put into your company. And then you monitor your liabilities. So if you owe money on equipment, assets are also equipment, inventory. So to find out your net worth for your business is just like as a person, as we showed up there on the other slide, you take your what you own, which are your assets, minus what you owe, which are your liabilities, and then the difference is your net worth. And the same thing for your business too. Next slide is looking at income, profit, and loss. Like I mentioned earlier, it'd be great if you have income, you have net profit rather than net loss. But most all business owners that start out always have a loss, unless you've figured everything out and you have some test clients and customers. But really, this is you can see on bullet point 3 that this is used to calculate your taxes, which is very true. And then the last bullet point, it's kind of funny. So remember, you can show a profit and not have any money to pay your bills because it's really about cash flow. So the next slide talks about projections. So this is also a super condensed version. I have one that's similar to this. So projections on the bottom right is the best thing about this slide is you have to really know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, nobody's going to take you seriously. Nobody's going to know you know what you're talking about for your company. If you want to start a restaurant and your net profit shows 10% when 20%, and most restaurants are between 3 and 10, like, why are you different? Are you getting free food? Are you getting free labor? What's going on? Tell me, do you really know your numbers? And then in the middle bottom is be realistic. So if you say that I'm going to start a business and everybody's going to come to your business and the market share is $4.2 billion a year and you think you're going to make $4.2 billion the first year, then you're not being realistic. You're lying to yourself and nobody's going to take you seriously. So really know, what you're going to sell your product for. Do you have seasonality? How many units do you need to sell each month to make your expenses? And then also, really know your staff and how much that's going to cost. So that's your projections. So the slide before this talked about like cash flow, like you could have profit, but you can't pay your bills. So slide 52 is all about cash flow analysis. So, just really knowing the difference between profit and cash flow. So a lot of people talk about cash flow, and it's kind of intimidating for business owners when you're first starting because you're not sure, because you don't just go out in the community and talk about your cash flow to other people. But everybody understands profit. Like, did you make money at the end of the year? Cash flow means where you would take when you're starting, you take your cash. So whether it's your cash you put into the business, your 401k, your credit card cash, or your loan cash that you got, and then you go through all your expenses and all your revenues, and then whatever cash you have left in the bank. That's what cash flow is, and this slide kind of explains that. The next slide, like why it matters, and the reason why it matters is the last bullet point. You can be profitable and broke at the same time, which a lot of business owners don't understand. If you understand cash flow, then you understand how you're going to make money, how you're going to lose money, and how best you're going to be able to operate your company. So there's a lot of questions around cash flow, but these few slides kind of talk about it. This one talks about the P&L. That's your profit and loss, and then also it talks about in this slide that cash flow is very different for every company. Some very profitable companies require huge amounts of cash to operate. So kind of just have to figure out if you're a large and cash-intensive business or not. So the next slide is pitching your loan request. So if you're going to really understand your financials, really understand your numbers, really understand the 3 C's of bank approval, cash flow, do you have it? How much over or short are you? So this is like the other quick self-assessment you can do with yourself to kind of figure out if you can afford the loan. Do you understand your credit story? Do you have good or bad? And explain the bad. Do you have collateral? Do you have a lot? Do you have a little? Do you have any equity in anything? And the fourth hidden C's of bank approval is connection. So if you don't have good cash flow, your credit sucks, and you have no collateral, then the only other way you can get a loan or get somebody to invest in you is your connection. So do you have a business partner, family member, Are you a veteran? Do you have a veteran that you can bring to the table, like mom or dad or spouse? Because you can do that veteran loan that I was talking about earlier. Just really figure out your connections. Who's on your team? You know, are you bringing like Mark Zuckerberg to the table? He's going to invest in your company. You know, like who's your connection? So, and then let's see here. Next slide is just kind of a quick conclusion of all these slides, and this is a lot of information. But you can see here that, you know, starting a business is definitely a lot of work. A lot of business owners tell me that, you know, it's very difficult to start a business. It's even more difficult to expand, grow, and, you know, and take on new customers and clients. But if you really have the passion, you really know why you're doing it, you can pitch that why, the story, you have the backing, and you're willing to put the effort into it, it's definitely worth it. So really important to in conclusion, talk about needing that good business strategic plan or pitch deck, how to get funding to start your business if needed. So funding could be back and forth. It could be like you actually need money to start, or you actually need sales. You need revenue. And to do revenue, you know, how are you going to go to market, stuff like that. Obviously, experience in the industry, your own infusion, and then obviously the entrepreneurial spirit. So the next slide is financing tools and resources. So these are some great ways to kind of see how you are you fit to the mold of starting a business, or what resources you need. If you want to find out about your credit report for free, you can go to these two credit report websites. WellsFargoWorks.com has a great working online business tool. You can go in there, start today, and then come back a year later and keep typing on your business plan, and it stays there. They give you industry analysis. It's really good. SBA.gov has some great resources on there. And then if you, I know a lot of people shy away of IRS or BOE, but they have some great resources on there of what to do, what not to do. Obviously, you got to pay your taxes. You got to pay your state taxes with BOE, but some great resources. So the last slide is a little quote. And then go back into telling you thank you for being on the call, and then any questions that you may have.
Okay, so I'm going to moderate the Q&A. I'm going back to Scott's contact information in case anybody wants it. It'll be on the screen. If you have any questions that you want to ask, please do so in the questions pane. Okay, so Scott's information is on the screen. If you want to contact him, feel free to. As far as questions, I have a couple here. Okay, what do you find is the largest hurdle for someone who's interested in opening their own business?
So it's a great question. So I would say, do you really understand? What we see is industry experience comes up a lot. If you don't have industry experience, or understand how to go to market, or understand your customers and know who you're selling to, that's one of the biggest hurdles. And then also, you know, making sure that you file all the appropriate paperwork, and that you really know how to make money, and that you have means to pay it back. I know that's a lot of different ones, but I would say mostly, do you understand your industry, and do you understand how you're going to make money?
Perfect. What are the biggest mistakes made by startup entrepreneurs? Or some of the biggest mistakes you see?
So the biggest mistake is that they quit their job before they start working, before they start their business, and they don't plan. They don't plan ahead. They think. And the other one is they don't do research. They don't do any research. They just think that since they're a badass salesperson, they can quit their job and sell better than their manager, and they can start their own business. But really understanding what it takes to run, own, operate a business is a lot harder than just working for a company, because you take so much for granted. I did this when I quit banking and jumped into my own, working as a consultant and doing my own business structure, is that you have to set up everything. You have to set up your internet, your computer, your phones, your CRM. you like there's so many different facets of running and owning a business. And I would say that entrepreneurs don't ask enough questions up front and don't get the right advice, and they just jump right into it before they do all their research.
Great. If you could give one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur, what would you say? If you can sum it up in one piece.
That's right. So I would I mean, the quote on my last slide where it says small business isn't for the faint of heart, it's for the brave, the patient, and persistent. It's for the overcomer. So did you ask me to give you an inspirational quote? Is that what you said? Or inspirational?
No, just if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's interested in starting their business.
I would say to really understand your why. Why are you doing it? People buy because of emotions, and they buy for the story. So if you have a really, really good story, not a made-up story, but a really good story as to why you're doing what you're doing. Did something happen before in life? Did somebody pass away and they didn't get the right services, and you want to save them on the medical side? You know, is something what you're creating or selling or doing is making it easier for people to live? You're not just going to go do something else that everybody else is doing and jumping on the bandwagon. Say you wanted to create something similar to Snapchat just to make a bunch of money because they went public and made, you know, $40 billion when they went public. Just really know your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you selling what you're selling? What's your internal passion, desire? And if it is because you want to make a bunch of money, well, it's really hard for you to tell people that, hey, I'm just doing this so I can make a bunch of money. They don't really believe in you. But, you know, what is your burning desire as to why you want to do it? I quit banking because I wanted to make it easier for business owners to get financing and to start their business, because I truly feel that banks make it super hard because they're regulated. So I quit to advocate and to help and coach business owners to make that easier. And that's my why. It's very passionate because I turned down a lot of business owners. So so you can go to, so I don't know if you can type that in, Megan, but there's a guy named Simon Sinek, S-I-M-O-N, he's like a professional speaker, S-I-N-E-K, I think his name is. And he has a YouTube chat video that's called Understanding Your Why. And it's phenomenal.
Perfect. Well, I don't see any other questions. So at this point, this concludes our webinar. So thank you to Scott for your presentation, and also to all the participants for joining us today. The slides and audio of this presentation will be posted to the GO-BIZ website. I will notify our registrants by email once they're posted. Please join us for upcoming webinars each Wednesday in May at 10 a.m. For more information and to register, please visit calismallbizmonth.com, and I'm going to put that into the chat where I put Simon's name too, so that you can see it spelled out. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me directly. Thank you.